Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 317, written by Oldebookworm, The Silence. This happened in 2005. I was 41, so I'm not young or impressionable. Reading this sub reminded me of this instance. It was about 10 a.m. and I had just gotten back from the grocery store, unloaded the car and went back for the last bag and to lock up the car. There wasn't usually much foot traffic on our street, but I always nod and smile when I see someone as a kind of hello, just automatically. As I headed to the car for that last bag, I nodded hello to someone who looked at me sharply. A moment later, I realized that what I had seen was unusual and did a double take. The person I thought I saw was very tall, at least 7 foot, and was wearing black clothing and had a hat. The face was thin and stark white. If I'd known what they were at the time, I would have said that I saw the Silence from Doctor Who. I did a quick turnaround and he was gone. No other people on the sidewalk. Haven't seen anything like that since. What do y'all think? Case file number 318, written by Sagewreath. The very instincts took my breath away. A few months ago, I woke up in the middle of the night, feeling especially fidgety and restless. I had this strong urge to go outside, and while I normally don't listen to these kind of impulses, this time I did. I went outside, brought a stool to the middle of the yard, and sat down and stared at the stars. I knew I was going to see something interesting. My body was tense and crackling with it. Soon enough, I saw a strange red light moving across the sky. There was no tail. It didn't break up. It was just this weird energy-laden light that appeared, moved directly across my line of vision, then blinked off. It took my breath away. But I'm a logical person. I immediately thought, okay, that was cool, but it was something natural. It had to be. Maybe it was a shooting star. I haven't seen a shooting star in so long. I'm not sure what one looks like. At that very moment, a bright white shooting star streaked across the sky, right where I was watching. I was pretty spooked. I yelled, "Thank you," and ran inside. But ultimately, I felt very calmed, like I had seen what I was meant to, and I fell right asleep. I also had the immediate sense that someone was trying to get through to me, and thought I was a dumbass for doubting the first light. Like, okay, you want a shooting star? Here you go. It definitely felt like I was bumping up against the edges of something very strange. Bonus file. Written by likeaphenomenabb, the soft sounds of a woman that doesn't exist. I'm 23, non-binary, and my boyfriend, 25, male, moved into a new apartment in May this year, and we have been experiencing some weird things since then. The first thing I noticed was when I was sleeping in one morning, my boyfriend was already awake playing video games in the living room. I was woken up to a woman's voice that sounded like a very soft and gentle voice, but also sounded like the woman was very nervous. It sounded urgent. She just said, "No, no, 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 no," each one sounding more pronounced. I woke up very confused and assumed that my boyfriend had a guest over. It sounded like a disagreement, so I quickly got up out of bed and went to see what was wrong. I swear on the way to the living room, I was still hearing mumbling voices in a conversation. I'm sure you guessed, there was no one there. When I talked to my boyfriend, he said there wasn't any voice. His video games were plugged into his headset, so it wasn't a TV either. I've had experiences with hallucinations when falling asleep or waking up in my younger years, although it had been years since that last happened. I assumed it was just that and thought nothing more of it. That was until my boyfriend started experiencing things as well. A couple nights later, he woke up to the same voice. He described it as an older woman's voice that was soft and gentle, and it said, "No, no, don't worry about it, I've got it." It again sounded clear, as if it was just having a conversation with someone in the room. This one somehow scares me more. He said he was waking up but fully awake when he heard it. At first, he thought it was me, but I was still asleep. He shook me awake because he was so unnerved. The scariest thing was maybe a couple weeks after that. My boyfriend had gotten up to pee in the middle of the night, and when he came back, I was sitting up and looking at him. Or more accurately, my side of the bed had a figure sitting up looking at him, but it wasn't me. It took my boyfriend a moment to realize he could also see me laying in my normal spot. It was like this figure was sitting up on top of me. Someone else was in my spot too, just staring at my boyfriend. He turned on the light, waking me up, but when he did, the figure vanished. He was very shaken up then too. I always hear noises when I'm home alone. We've had paranormal experiences in the past, but not like this. We smudge every time something scary happens, and things lighten up for a couple days, but considering there was nothing for the first few months we lived here, I'm nervous this is escalating. Any advice or feedback is appreciated. Case file number 319, written by awesomehunnibadger. What do you do when a home phone rings, but you don't have a home phone? I woke up around 7 a.m. to let my dog out to pee. Shortly after getting back in bed, I heard our home phone, which my family got rid of years ago, ringing. The sound was clearly coming from the living room area. Once I realized we no longer had a home phone, the ringing stopped. I walked out to see if it was reconnected for some reason, but there was not even a home phone physically in sight, let alone plugged in. I was wide awake, so there's no chance this was part of a dream. It felt like a glitch in the Matrix where the universe fumbled and had a shit, she doesn't have a home phone anymore moment. Edit. A couple people have asked if it could have been an auditory hallucination or someone's cell phone ringing. I was the only person home, and my cell phone has a normal ringtone. Part of the reason I clearly thought it was my home phone ringing, for a brief second, was because my dog perked up when it first rang in the house. Could have been a coincidence, but either way, it spooked me. Case file number 320, written by G007W. Drive, use a road, and the next day, it doesn't exist. About a year ago, during the summer of the Notable World event, I was working at Pizza Hut and made a good friend. We would hang out after the closing shift and drive around. I was living in the middle of nowhere in Indiana, so there's really nothing to do but drive around. Randonauting was pretty popular at the time, an app that gives you random energy points with coordinates, and we decided to try the app out. We were out near some cornfields and missed our destination. I was the navigator and was looking for a spot to make a U-turn. I was looking ahead on the map and saw a U-shaped road with a 3-exit roundabout, the second exit leading away from the main road. I tell my friend to turn into the road. We come up to the roundabout and I tell them to take the first exit. We exit the roundabout and this is where things get weird. We are driving back into the same roundabout. I freeze and my friend is asking me which exit to take. My gut tells me to take the second exit this time, so I tell them to take the second exit. This leads us to the main road. I'm incredibly confused and looking at the map, which still only has one roundabout on it. I said something about it being weird that there were 2 roundabouts when the map only shows 1. My friend has no recollection of the first roundabout. They still have no recollection of it to this day, but I remember it so vividly. The day after, I tried to find the road we took to make a U-turn looking at the map and was completely unable to find the road. It doesn't exist anymore. There's not even a roundabout in the area we were driving in. Ever since then, things have been slightly off. The house across the street from my house is 90 degrees from how I remember it. The main road to the shopping center is shorter. I know this because I time my drives. It used to be 13 minutes and now it only takes 8 minutes. I notice a lot of other small little things like that. I think I got transported to another timeline or universe. Case notes. Alright, so all I want to say here is that I welcome you to our universe. We have cookies, we have ice cream, we have a lot of great stuff. And hey, your trip to the grocery store is even quicker. Not bad. I think you'll do well here. Case file number 321, written by Knock Brew, a guardian angel with money. This happened a few years ago, back when all I'd do in my early 20s was go out to pubs and clubs, spend all my money with friends, regret it, and then repeat it all the next week. I'd often find myself saving just the right amount of money for public transport to and from work, just until I got paid. One week, I knew I had enough for a few days of travel until payday. What I didn't know was that my pay would come in a day late due to a public holiday that would interrupt the payroll system. So I had to account for that extra day to get to work, but did not have enough to get back home. I had a transport card that I had to recharge to scan on and off public transport. After getting to work that day, I had a balance of $0. The whole day I was stressing about how I would get home. I kept checking my balance, knowing full well it was still zero. I didn't want to ask anyone for a lift because I knew no one lived in my direction, and I did not want to burden anyone over a situation I had ultimately put myself in. After work, there I was walking to the train station. I checked my balance again, and obviously it was still $0. I thought to myself, I either have to walk all the way home, which is over an hour, or jump on the train without a ticket. I chose to walk home instead of risking a fine, as that would have made me even more broke than I already was. Just as I passed the station, I checked my balance one more time, as if something was telling me to, and instead of $0, it said I had 20. I stood there, gobsmacked. I checked the transaction history, and there were no recent recharges. It just didn't make sense. It literally popped up out of nowhere, and I could not find the source on how it came to be. So yeah, it all worked out in the end, but to this day it baffles me. I know 110% that I didn't have any money. The no transactions to say the transport card was recharged was what made it even weirder. I didn't investigate much further. I was just happy that I could get home. Simply, I called it a miracle. One that taught me a good lesson.